This video completes my March reading where I did middle grade March as well as one mystery book because I heard it's Mystery March too. But this also goes into the start of my April reading. I'm Victoria and I hope that you have a good time here today. I've been reading The Incorrigible Children of Ashton Place. For the year, I had plans to read up through the third book, and so I want to talk about book 2 and 3, which I did complete during middle grade March. The Hidden Gallery will be the first one that I talk about. So if you don't know what this story is about, there are these 3 children that were raised by wolves, supposedly. They're found at the estate of the Ashtons, and there's a governess named Miss Lumley. Her name is Penelope, and she is hired as a governess to raise them in education, and she is so patient with them. So for the second book, Lady Constance Ashton, she has been complaining so much. She decides she needs a break. Let's go to London, she states. So they all go to London together. And while there, Miss Penelope Lumley and the 3 children, which are named Alexander, Beowulf, and Cassiopeia, are able to go to the zoo. They have so much fun just walking around the streets of London, learning things. They are growing so much in their education. They even interact with this gypsy woman, and they make friends with a man named Simon. And one really funny scene was when they went to the theater to see some sort of play about pirates. Now, the whole idea with the gallery, I don't really want to give anything away, but there is something that is found, and you get to explore and learn about what that is. In my opinion, it was more of a connection that was made between them all. This was a little bit predictable, but it was also very funny, very cute. And then for the third book, this one I love the most out of the first 3 books. This is The Unseen Guest. While I didn't finish this in March, I started at the end of March and finished it the first day of April. It should still count, right? I really liked this because you get more of a backstory about the children and their past. Now, the point of this story is that at the Ashton Place, Lord Frederick's mother arrives and she brings with her this explorer man who is interested in her. This man has lost an ostrich on the grounds, and so they're all trying to find the ostrich, and they go exploring a little bit into the woods. The children get to go back into the area where they kind of were raised. There's a lot of dramatic stuff that happens in this. There's a lot of fun things. I really thought this was humorous and quirky. And there is some mystery that we've been trying to find out about Lord Frederick, which I am really curious about. Now, for this one, there is some content I want to warn about because there is talk about wanting to do a seance in this. Now, there is not an actual seance that happens, but during the Victorian time, you know that was like when people started to get interested in things like trying to speak to the dead. So that is portrayed within this. So there is talk about a fortune teller. There's some deceit in this. I really, really like the character of Penelope Lumley. She is so great with the kids, and she's only like 16 years old in this book. So that is just like, I thought she was older, and I didn't realize it till the second book that she was like 15 turned 16. She's so smart, and she has a story that we are slowly learning about too. Very cute series. I look forward to going more into it. And in the same sort of time period and in the same sort of location, the Enola Holmes series that I've been reading through, I am so close to finishing this. I only have 2 books left and one that just had come out. So in book, I guess 7, Enola Holmes and the Black Baroche. This one is my favorite of the books. Best one, because there were some of the books where I gave like 2 stars and I didn't really care for a lot of this series. So this is about how Sherlock has someone that comes over, and Enola is working a little bit with Sherlock. It is her brother. And there is this woman that needs help. She is a twin of a missing sister, and she's very concerned for her because she had found out that her sister supposedly is dead, and she does not believe it. She has that twin connection. So she wants to go to Sherlock to find out exactly why she is just like finding out this thing, and that like her sister was suddenly cremated, and she's like, this doesn't sound like anything to do with my sister, and her sister was married. Maybe it's something to do that we could find out about what her husband, why it is that she died. Like, she wants to know because Sherlock is a little bit busy. Enola says, I will take this case, and Sherlock does help here and there. It uncovers a part of history that is very sad. I don't want to give away what that is, but they explain what a black baroche is, and it is very key to this story. Solving the mystery was very fun. I enjoyed it. Enola is very, very witty, very smart. I think this is someone that a lot of young girls could look up to. Of course, she does a lot of things on her own. And what is really great, this is the first book where Watson appears. Now for content, there is a spouse that has been mistreating his wife, and there is a misuse of the word hell. And then going into the book right after this, Enola Holmes and the Elegant Escapade. This one was very fun too. It was almost on par with the one before it, but I still liked the Black Barouche better. This has to do with Lady Cecily, who has been in our stories before. She comes back. She is really good friends with Enola, and she's like, Enola, I need your help because there's something going on with my father. Her father's not a very nice man. We have already known this from previous stories. Sherlock is pretty funny in this one because, you know, he kind of lets his sister get away with things sometimes so she can learn from her mistakes, but then he does help her. So anyway, there is a crime that has been committed, and Lady Cecily feels like her life is in danger. So she really needs Enola to help her, but she is not really around that much. So it's like, let's find Lady Cecily. Where did she go? But it was a very fun tale, and while there are some sad situations, I really enjoyed this one too. And there is talk about murder and death, and it is not like very nice to learn about. It's sad. And there is a runaway situation. For another middle grade, there is an arc that I had been given a couple months ago, and I was like, this looked really good to me to read for springtime. I finished this the end of March. I wanted to read this because there are bicycles. If you know me, I love cycling. I love bike riding. So when I see bikes on covers, I get like very interested. The Edge of Forever is a book that I would not really recommend for middle grade readers. I did not enjoy it. So I'm going to let you right now know what it's about before it comes out. I was really disappointed in this one. It wasn't written poorly. I just didn't enjoy the plot line very much, and I feel like it was maybe a little bit much. It was more YA in my opinion. So this is about May. Maisie is her name. Some people call her May. Her mother is going through some really major struggles right now, on top of the fact that May's father had just passed away. So there is a lot of talk about grief. So she is sent to live with her aunt, who had been a famous person at one point and now is just kind of hanging out in this one town that's kind of like a desert town. There's not a lot going on there. It was mentioned that there is something called the CCC that existed in the 1930s and 1940s, where it was conservation for different areas and giving jobs and programs to people that maybe were struggling. And so this area was chosen as a town for that way back. In present time, you're looking at the outcome of what happened when that stuff didn't really work out too well. She makes this friend named Walt, and they go on little adventures and bike rides around town. It is interesting because I don't really know when this is set. Like, I don't see phones so much in this. Like, they have landlines, so I don't know when this book takes place. And I was trying to figure out if I missed something, like to say what time period this is, but no one is on their cell phone all the time. Like I said, there is a talk about a landline and a cord. So I was like, is this set in the 80s, 90s, 70s? Like, I didn't really know. But they go to the library, these kids, and Charlene works there and she helps them out. They're trying to find stuff about the conservation issues. They're trying to kind of work with the town a little bit. There's also a reading competition, and somehow Maisie, with all this running around she has time to read a lot of books. But the whole point of this is she is struggling to deal with the grief of her father, the grief of her mother's situation, and then her feeling abandoned on top of that, and then dealing with an aunt that she's barely ever known, and then finding out even more information that is kind of heartbreaking. It's a lot. It's heavy duty, and there are themes in here. There's talk about drug addiction, drinking, and alcohol addiction. And one thing that I did not appreciate for a middle grade book is that there was a replacement term for saying the Lord's name in vain attached to something. So there's a replacement word, and it's used a lot in this book. Like, we don't have to do that. I'm glad you didn't swear, but like, you don't have to do that. And then there's a scene where Walt gives the middle finger, both of his middle fingers, up to another person. At one point, I was like, that's just not appropriate. Yes, there are not so nice people, but you don't have to react like that and then teach kids that that's how they should react. And for the most part, Walt is amazing and very level-headed. I love his character. He's the only good character, in my opinion, in this book. Yes, there maybe are redeeming qualities in different characters. There is an adult that smokes at one point, and there is talk about abandonment issues in different forms. And I don't want to give away a really heartbreaking way that is in this story. It was just a little bit much, I think, for a kid. While yes, maybe a lot of kids are dealing with situations like this, so that could help. But I think that it could have been written in a different way or a better way. And just some of it is like a little intense for her aunt, something that her aunt had done in the past. I was like, let's not say something like that for like young kids. I don't know. It was just a lot. I just didn't enjoy it. And the book that I had been really, really, really looking forward to reading, The Woods and Wisp. I had stated in my spring list how this one will be special to me. This one I'm actually going to keep, at least for a few years. I plan on reading this to my toddler when he's a little older, because I think it has Wind in the Willow vibes, which is my favorite childhood book. So I do think that there will come a time where either I have him read this on his own or I read it to him. It was adorable. If you like cottagecore style and stories, this will suit you. Paola Merrill, she actually is a YouTuber that I have followed for probably like 4 years now, and I've supported her for several years. She's known as the Cottage Fairy, and she wrote another book that was more about her life and nature that I loved, and I had pre-ordered that. So when I heard she was writing this, I pre-ordered it. Now, she had written another story for her patrons. It was in a similar form with drawings and stuff that she shared probably like 2 years ago, and I loved it. She's not very active on her YouTube anymore. It's mainly just to her patrons. So I get to see all her videos when she doesn't really post anything. But the way she writes is very poetic and beautiful. And I know she loves nature a lot. You actually have to buy this on her Etsy page, and she did this all herself. Now, she runs her own bookstore now. She had a publisher, and something happened with the publisher where now her first book, like, she doesn't have the rights or anything. Like, pretty sad. So this one, she did everything herself, that it's her own little publishing company for just her book. So I'm amazed at this. She has her drawings. Now, she did get this, Lightning Source did do all the printing for her. She did all her art herself. So I want to just show you like some of her art so you could see. She did sign my book with a little rabbit drawing on it, which is really cute. So this is Wisp. Wisp is a white rabbit. And she also included these art cards that she made with quotes. Oh, I didn't even read the quotes. And she also included a matching bookmark. It's the same on both sides. Wisp is this rabbit that is the employee of Zephyr, Zephyr is a squirrel. Zephyr's been going through things in her life that is causing like mushrooms to grow on her. She like doesn't bathe, and she is called a witch. But I'm going to tell you right now, throughout this book, you're going to hear about a witch and a wizard, but there is no actual magic ever. There are no spells, no casting anything in this story. She's a witch, but really she just works with herbs and has her own apothecary. And the wizard that is mentioned later in this book, he's a salamander who has like limbs that fall off and regrows them. And he doesn't actually do magic or anything. He just talks about it, kind of like a magician that you would hire at a birthday party. There's no actual magic. There is talk about magic, but really it's just the way the natural world works is magic. So I'm just going to tell you that right off, because I know a lot of people get worried about such things. And there is talk about Zephyr the squirrel having a curse, but it is mentioned multiple times that she doesn't really have a curse. She has something that she's going through and she needs help. So Zephyr goes away at one point, and Wisp has to try to help her, goes into the Moon City. They live in the northern woods, which is beautiful. It is where Wisp has grown up. So Wisp now has to go to the Moon City, which is a place Wisp has never gone to. And while there, Wisp meets a whole bunch of characters. We get a whole story about Zephyr's life and why Zephyr needs some help. This book is about healing. This book is about having friendships and the ability to accept when you are sad, the ability to be brave and to kind of go through those emotions and to not be afraid, and that it's okay to need help. There's so much stuff about the natural world, trees. There's such a love for trees. There's talk about the stars, the moon. It is very creative. The fantasy story, it's cute. There is one mention where the rabbit is packing and packs a crystal. That crystal is not used for anything. It's just mentioned that there's a crystal, just so you guys know. There's mentions of a character swearing or cursing under their breath. No actual words are said, and that's mentioned twice, that 2 different characters, I think, do that. I do want to read 2 quotes from this book so you can look into this. I just really love this. I'll put a link to her Etsy, so if you're interested in buying this, you can. She sold hundreds of copies of this, and I can't imagine her having to sign all of them and send them out herself. That's amazing. All right, so here's one of the quotes. You see, Wisp was starting to realize something very true about the nature of most living things, and it is that we are all rather complex. All the little pieces of us don't always fit together in a perfect puzzle, and sometimes one part is at odds with another. And then the other quote that I really liked was, much like how the blanket of winter renews the forest for spring, time teaches us to enjoy what we have now, not what could be gained or lost. It was really lovely. Going into a YA, this is supposed to be a Christian YA story. I read the first book. I was so about it. It was kind of slow. It's kind of like a Narnia thing. There was another world, and this one girl in the first book, she learns about this other world that she had grown up with that was a fairy tale. And when she goes to visit her grandmother, she realizes this world might not be fake. It might not be a fairy tale. So I was disappointed because she didn't really go into this world very much in the first book, and I was really looking forward to that. But in this book, you get both worlds, which was really nice. This one, I think I liked this one a little bit better than the first book, but this one was also so-so. I don't think I'm going to continue this series. There is a book that's supposed to come out in like 2 years, but this had way too many characters, and it took me a while to understand who was who. Some of these characters were from the first book, and the girl from the first book, she's now older in this book. At the end of the first book, she had already been older. They had her grow up a bit. And the main guy character from the first book also had grown. So now they're older. They're barely in this book. They are in it, but not much. So now we have mainly these other kids are the main characters of this story. And then there's one person from the other worlds that enters their world. So they also enter that world. So we get these glimpses, and it's very, like I said, very like Narnia. There is like a bad woman who is turning people into creatures, not to stone, but into creatures. And this is a place called Turnival. So the evil queen. So we learn a lot more about things that complete more of the first book. There's some backstory. There's brave kids, and they want to defeat this evil queen and try to help different individuals and their families. There's a character named Arash, Jack, and Zara, which I really liked those characters. The only content you need to know is that there are people that get injured and murdered in this. It's an interesting series if you're looking into something fantasy. It just didn't capture my attention enough. Now I want to get into a couple Amish stories for you. First off, I had an author who reached out to me on Instagram and had read a review that I wrote about another book that she wrote that I had recently reviewed on here too. And she wanted to send me this, An Amish Widow's Hope. And I said, well, right now I have a lot of books that I'm reading, but you could send it and I'll try to read in April. But I actually read this at the end of March. It was very good. I loved this actually. I love this better than the other book, but it was cute. She sent me like a pencil case. I thought that was sweet. This blessed, like, I'm not one who really likes stuff, but I thought it was very sweet. And a little packet, which I haven't even opened yet. I'm going to open, has chapstick, has a little cross keychain, has an Amish inspired sticker. I don't know what the back thing is because I haven't opened it. And there's a bracelet. So I thought that was very sweet of her. Thank you, Pamela Desmond Wright. I will say that this story was definitely love inspired. The other book was An Amish Refuge, by the way. I didn't say the title. So this is about Evan. He's a cop. Now, if you know anything about Anabaptists, they are very much against hurting anyone and even defending through violence. So the fact that an Amish person, someone that grew up Amish, had become a cop is like craziness and very rare and like shocking. So Evan is a cop. He grew up Amish. He's helping his aunt out, and his aunt has like a pet raccoon and a pet pig that like runs around the house. And while he's on the job, he bumps into this woman who is a widow that he had really, really loved when they were young. But there were different things that he went through that caused him to leave the faith. He questions God's existence, but he has to help this woman that he hasn't seen in years. And she has 2 children now, and they're dealing with the loss of a father and a husband. Her name is Isla, and she is a very good character. She cares for people, and she's starting to form this friendship now with Evan. Even though she doesn't like what he does for a living, she's realizing that he is just as kind as she had remembered him to be. She's like trying to protect her heart because she's still grieving, and she's like, whoa, I can't be into an Englisher. And she's starting to feel a little bit for him, but she's very protective of herself. And he's like always been into her. So he's like, I know she's not going to want to be into someone who is like me, but he's also wavering in his job. And he is also trying to find more about God and how to handle the different things that occurred with his family not talking to him. But what's interesting about this book is there's a thief that is going about, and so he's trying to capture this thief. There are so many burglaries happening. We're learning about the 2 of them forming a friendship and a bond again, while also trying to protect her from harm, help the people in the Amish area and the town. He's reminded so much of the simplicity of following God, where he wants peace in his life, and he used to have that, and now he doesn't. So that's like a big part of this book. I really like the friendship that they gained. It wasn't something that they just went and rushed into, and that they were willing to help one another and to look past flaws and try to see who they were really. It's definitely a story of faith and redemption. It is really beautiful. So for content, there is shooting, there are injuries, there's arson, there's murder, there's talk about alcohol addiction, there's death and grief. So thank you again, Pamela, for sending this to me. I loved it. I look forward to reading more of your books. I know you have a brand new book out. I hope to read it eventually. It looks really pretty and it sounds great. And if it's anywhere near this one that I really enjoyed, I'm sure I'll love it too. Oh, and she sent me these bookmarks. So the new book is called Her Reluctant Amish Heart. I'll put that on the side. When They Met Again. I pre-ordered this. I was looking very much forward to this book. I could have read it when I got it, but I delayed because I wanted it to be a spring read. So I finished it, I think, the second day of April. This is about Joanna. Her family they had a fire at their house. Her whole family moved to Maine. She decided to move closer to her grandparents that live in Lancaster. And she's on her way to a wedding when she meets this guy named Adam. They start to get to know each other, and he right away is like trying to say, hey, you want to go on an ice cream date? And she's like, I just want to be your friend first. You know, I just met you. Let's be friends, which is so funny because that's kind of similar to my own story. So I laughed when I read it, but mine was, I don't date, not I just want to be friends. I thought that was very cute because I could relate. But the weird thing is that she meets this other guy named Jacob, like right after. And she's very intrigued and she's like, oh, I think I'm gonna date this guy. So she starts dating him. And Adam, he's really sad because he's like, what in the world? She's going on these dates with this other guy. She's courting this other guy, but like rejected me. I don't understand it. So he moves to Florida for a while. She ends up going to Florida for a bit, and that's where they met again. And they start to form a friendship. And this friendship grows. This story takes place over 3 years. We learn about her grandparents. We learn about Adam's past and how his grandparents and her grandparents are best friends and have these funny tales from the 70s. And it is very cute. I actually had a little bit of a hard time with Joanna with how she acted at times towards Adam because he was nothing but amazing to her always. There are some miscommunication issues between them. Jacob was an interesting character to learn about. This is a story about friendship, like mainly, but there is romance as well. There's drama that happens because of romance. And even though it's an Amish story, you could totally see how this could be something that happens for anyone. So this was such a slow book, and then it felt rushed at the end a little bit. Things could have been done a little bit better in this. It wasn't bad. It was a cute story. It was fine. There is talk about someone cheating in this, and there's talk about someone that's pregnant out of wedlock. Well, and the cheating thing, it's not glorified, just so you know. There is talk about it being wrong. For Mystery March that I almost missed out on, but I didn't. I did read another Agatha Christie Hercule Poirot book, Murder in Mesopotamia. If you don't know where Mesopotamia is, it is in Iraq. There's a nurse named Amy Leatherin. I think this is charming because a lot of times for Hercule Poirot books, we get different perspectives. Like usually there's this guy that hangs out with Poirot that does the narrating, or it's just a narrator talking about Poirot. But this is actually an Amy Leatherin, her perspective. And I was like, interesting. And we don't get Poirot in this book until after several chapters. Like it's a ways in actually. And I was like, this is a Poirot book, right? Like as I'm reading it, but it was so good. This is a very good book. It's not the best, but it's definitely one that I never heard of being talked about, but I really liked it. So the nurse is hired. She has to go and help this woman who thinks that her first husband is out to get her, to murder her. So she tells the nurse a little bit about her story. And the husband is so worried about her and wants her to have a sound mind, to just have someone there for her. They've been married for only a couple of years. She is this beautiful woman. All these people say how she's beautiful. She's older, but she's beautiful. I don't know how old she is in this. Is she in her 40s, 50s, 60s? I don't really know. I'm going to think that she might be around my age for all I know. So anyway, her husband, so the guy that hired this nurse, he is in charge. He's a doctor in charge of an archaeological dig. There are lots of people that they are around all the time. They're all suspects, of course, when something crazy happens and they have to find out who murdered this person. And Hercule Poirot just happens to be in the area of Iraq by this dig. And so he's like, I will solve it, And he wants the help of this nurse because she was around the situations and she could give some insight. He thinks she's very intuitive and could help him. What I also thought was great about this book, it is one of the few Agatha Christie books that I guessed who was the murderer. Really early on, I figured it out. I was like, I bet that person is the murderer. And I bet this is what's happening. While I'm reading, I figured out the scenario, which I didn't think I would think that, but I did. I got it right. I was so happy about it. So for content, there is murder. There is use of one D word that I can recall, but it was great. And the last book that I want to talk about that I read, it's called Declutter Your Heart and Your Home. This is a book from a minimalist, and I really loved it. It was great. Another good minimalist book. Yes. I rated this kind of high, and I think I should even rate it higher. It's still early in the month to really decide if I'm going to rate it higher. We'll see how the rest of my reading goes, but this was very good. She is a Christian woman. She was talking about how when she was growing up, she was very materialistic. She was raised a lot with this grandmother that just bestowed gifts upon her all the time, that she took that into her own shopping habits. She got to the point where she was in loads of debt, not just her car loan, but she was in $40,000 of debt, plus I think her school loan on top of it. It was a lot of debt. I can't imagine having as much debt as she did. So she realized she needed help, but there was someone that came up to her that she knew and said, I think you should look into this thing called minimalism. And she was like, what's that? She's like, just, look it up. She looks it up, she becomes hooked, and she realizes she's gotta work on things. And it makes her think a lot about her faith. She talks about how she incorporated learning about Jesus into her new lifestyle of becoming a minimalist. And as I'm telling you this, she has been a minimalist for 7 years. So to me, that's still a newbie minimalist, but it hasn't been, because if you've been a minimalist for more than a year and you keep going, I think that is really hard for a lot of people. And I've been a minimalist for nearly 20 years come June. So it's I'm really proud of her for the way that she became a minimalist, and her talk about faith throughout it is just really good. She tries to give tips without being annoying or without saying you have to do this. She was just saying different options and then things that did work for her. And I really thought that the way she talked about it was interesting and good. There are some books that I read on minimalism where I'm okay, yes, this is typical. This is the same thing that you see in so many books, but this was really well written and very thought-provoking. It was a breath of fresh air. And great to read for spring. If you want to declutter, you could always let me know. I'll help you. I know there was a lot of books because there were just some that I had not talked about previously when I had read them. These were just a lot of good books, actually. There are only a few that were Guys, have a great week. I hope that you have some sunshine in your life. Enjoy it. We've been having lots of rain. So when there's lots of rain, I get to read some more. But I am going out today now, so I gotta go. Bye.